Go ahead.
Our mission, Helping Parents Heal, is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting parents whose children have passed. Through support and resources offered, we aspire to help individuals become shining light parents, meaning a shift from a state of emotional heaviness to one of hopefulness and greater peace of mind. HPH goes a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and afterlife evidence in a non dogmatic way. HPH affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non religious background, and encourage open dialogue. Attendance at this meeting is voluntary. We hope that participants will learn from and share with each other. Discussions here are not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. Zoom meetings run by leadership are not confidential. These meetings typically feature guest presenters and are posted on YouTube so that affiliate members worldwide can watch and benefit. Neither type of Helping Parents Heal meeting is designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers, allowing parents to learn about many possible ways to heal. This includes presenters covering progressive topics such as afterlife evidence and connecting with our children who've passed. The views expressed by our guest speakers may or may not reflect the opinions of Helping Parents Heal leaders and members, so we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're here with us this evening, and we're just thrilled to have Suzanne with us this evening.
Yes, we are so thrilled to have Suzanne. And as you know, she's a huge part of Helping Parents Heal. She's one of our most ardent supporters. And I must say that many of you here this evening probably are here because she suggested Helping Parents Heal as a group to help all of you be able to move forward and heal. And we're very, very grateful to her for that. And as a lot of you know as well, we have spent time with Suzanne, Irene, and I have, and we've been able to spend time on a catamaran with her, for instance, in Still Right Here, which was very exciting, and other fun activities that we've done. But she's also been one of our keynote speakers at our conference every single time that we've had the conference, and we appreciate it so much. And I want to also, before I read her bio, while I'm reading it, maybe you can all put your names, where you're from, and your child in spirit. And if you'd like to, maybe just say how you know of Suzanne. And that's always fun to read. So I'm going to go ahead and read her bio, though. You all know her as a gifted evidential medium, spiritual teacher, best-selling author, and the host of the Awakened Way podcast. She is recognized as one of Watkins' 100 most spiritually influential living people. And before her spiritual journey became known around the world, she served our country as a U.S. Navy commander and aide to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, which is pretty incredible. Suzanne has authored 18 books, created 6 HemiSync recordings, and her YouTube videos have reached millions of people seeking hope, healing, and a deeper understanding of the continuity of life. Through her classes, retreats, and work with the Shift Network and Humanities team, she continues to inspire people around the world to awaken to the truth that we are far more than our physical bodies. What I love most about Suzanne is not only her extraordinary gift of evidential mediumship, but the love, compassion, and wisdom she brings to everyone she meets. Her messages consistently remind us that our loved ones in spirit remain close and that love never dies, and that we are all a part of one beautiful interconnected consciousness. And without further ado, please join me and Irene in welcoming our very esteemed guest and dear friend, Suzanne Giesemann. Welcome, Suzanne.
Well, thank you, two of my most favorite people in the world there, Elizabeth and Irene. What a bond we all share. And with all of you, I went into gallery mode there for a few minutes so that I could look at all the faces, and my heart just opens up looking at all of you. Look at the hearts on the screen. Love that. Love that.
Well,
Yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. You were going to ask me about the book, but I just want to share some of the wonder from my most recent reading, just kick it off that way. It
Sounds
just,
good.
Ty and I went to Japan for 2 weeks. I have a good story about that I could share with you too. But I didn't schedule any readings till a few days after we got back because I wanted to make sure I was completely over the jet lag. And so I went about 2.5 weeks without doing any readings. And I also found it very interesting that I didn't sense a single spirit while I was gone. So 2.5 weeks without sensing spirits, other than my own guides, who I just connect with throughout the day and in meditation. And I asked my guides about that, because I've known ever since I started connecting with spirit that I'm turned off when I'm not doing a reading. I don't walk around seeing spirits. But yet you set the intention to do a reading and it's so clear. And then I'll also occasionally get drop-ins from spirits I know from doing readings, like Harley, who drops in on me occasionally, or Patty and Dave's daughter, Lauren. I don't get Morgan so much, so that's interesting. But I asked my guides, what's up with that? And I didn't sense a single spirit for 2.5 weeks. And they said, it's because you were on vacation and you were so focused on this physical world. And that's why we as souls came into this world, to live these human lives and have these human experiences. But there come these times, I call them wake-up calls, right? When somebody you love dearly, and in all of our cases, a child passes, when it exposes you to the truth that there is a greater reality. And that is one of those silver linings. But then the silver lining is that we come to remember who we really are at a deeper level, souls, because that's what mediumship is soul to soul communication. And that's why it's possible. And so for 2 weeks in Japan, I was fully in human mode, focusing on a new culture, a different food, and all of these physical things. And I didn't need to focus on the soul, but it's always right here. So I will tell you about a cool experience that I did have related to a reading I did while in Japan. I made a note so we won't forget, but got back, and I'm so grateful in my journey as a medium, not being a born medium. This is something that I've developed, and that's what I love teaching all of you. We all have the ability, because it's soul to soul communication. Whether or not it's a calling, your soul will let you know, but you can learn to connect with your own child. So in my journey, I've gone from baby medium where, oh gosh, what if I don't get anything? What I know the spirits are here, but what if I don't sense them? That's very normal in the beginning, till now, the other end of the spectrum. I haven't done a reading in 2.5 weeks. No big deal. Let's go. There's just zero doubt, because I know so thoroughly and completely the spirit world is right here. It's not out there somewhere separate from us. Our loved ones are just on a different channel right here. And once you learn how to change that channel, boom. But of course, we have to be a static-free instrument. And that's part of the journey too. And that's part of the journey you're on, clearing the static so that you can sense your loved one. We can talk about that later if you want. But I sat down and I looked at my calendar, and the lovely Patty Hart is my scheduling assistant. So she knows that when she schedules something on my calendar or reading, she'll put only what we know in advance, what the client has told us, because I want to clear the air before every reading and say, look, you told Patty, or you wrote in your initial request these things. That much I know. So I went into this reading knowing that my client has a son across the veil, and she even put how he passed. So I started right out, look, I know you have a son across the veil. Is that your main intention, to connect with him? And she said, yeah. I mean, it feels like a really dumb question, right? Of course. But sometimes people also have other things they want to do. And I tuned in, and boy, notice how my head just goes over here, because when I sense a child across the veil, I'm pulled like a magnet to this position. It's part of the system that I set up with the spirit world. And we had a beautiful connection. I could feel his personality so clearly, and he talked about how he passed. But there were just 2 really cool moments that I thought that you all might find interesting tonight, because to me, it points out how mediumship is communication with people who are still people. And it's a two-way conversation, meaning a medium isn't just pulling data out of the air. You can tell they're communicating with your child. To me, that is the best news ever. They're right here talking to us or communicating with us through images that are very interactive and very clever. And so we're going along in this reading. I'm sharing what I sensed, and I've learned to share everything exactly how I got it. And in this case, I saw a black and white checkered image, and it was very square, like a checkerboard. So I reported that, but I'm not looking at my client because I don't want to pick up anything from her body language, but I'm using all the methods that I teach. I tuned into that, like trying to get, why are you showing me that? Because clearly it's a piece of evidence that he wanted to share. It's something to show, to validate. This is me, Mom. So I tuned in and I'm saying, I know this is not a checkerboard, but on the flight home from Japan, I watched the movie Ford versus Ferrari, and they were waving a checkerboard flag. And as I now shift from checkerboard to checkerboard flag, there's a lift here, and I could feel your son saying, yeah, and I know that he was into racing. And she said, he built a racing car. And it's just like, whoa. That is so cool. And that's why I said to my guides, may I never lose that wow feeling. That as a baby medium, and I hope that some of you are studying mediumship now, I would have said, well, I'm seeing a checkerboard, and leave it at that. And then the client would say, no, he didn't play checkers, and you think you're wrong. But you learn as you go to not rely on the sitter. I didn't say to her, the sitter, the client, I didn't say to her, do you understand checkers? I knew that wasn't it. So how do you know? You learn to discern, you feel into it. So I'm just sharing all of this with you for teaching, but also just to show you what mediumship is like. It's this dance of energy, and it comes with this knowing because they're right here sharing it. And you can tell his mom's not sitting there thinking about that racing car, but when it comes up, boom, she knows exactly what it is. Then the other thing was also so interesting to me, that he put in my mind an image that I had just focused on an hour before the reading. And this is one of those things where a medium has to say to themselves, boy, I know what that image is because I really focused on. Is it just coming up to me now because it's in my field, because it was a recent memory of mine? Or is he bringing it to my mind because it's important? Because, you know, you sit down to do a reading and your mind may still be busy with all the stuff going through your day. So I'll tell you what happened with this image. Many of you who've studied with me know that we talk about what's called a snag. When you're walking along or you're just doing something and something catches your attention and you really focus in on it. Well, I didn't realize this was a snag at the moment. Ty and I were out for a walk a couple miles from here, and we were walking past a construction site, and there were two ladders, and both of them had a man on it, and one man was on the roof and two guys on the ground. So 5 guys. And I looked at them as we walked by, and I love my husband, and I think he's really handsome. So I don't usually look at other guys, but I'm telling you, everybody, I went, whoa. I was just caught by these guys. I mean, they had all of them, the most perfect bodies, and they were tan and they were fit from all this work. And I just was like, wow. I didn't say anything. We finished, we went out a mile and a half, turned around, came back. And on the way back, I'm snagged again by these guys. And I'm just like, that's good looking, you know, right there. And actually on the way back, I had to talk to Ty about it. I had to make a comment like, honey, those guys are really fit. And he says, I know, I noticed them too. Well, that's the image that this son in spirit put in my mind. So I tuned in again, and I discerned, is that image in my mind because it really caught my attention? And I asked him, why are you showing me this? Are you showing me this? And I looked at his mom and I said, your son brought up this image I saw of construction workers up a ladder, and I know your son was a construction worker and would climb ladders. And she said, yes, he was. I got the collective goosebumps. Did you all get it too? See, this is how spirit works. And this shows us that this young man was in my field already, ready for that reading, coming into resonance with my energy, trying to figure out what things can I get through Suzanne that she'll resonate with, that relate to my life, that mom will understand. And that's how it works. And I just find it so fascinating. And I know I'll never stop saying wow, because this is how it works. Our soul deliberately masks us or helps us forget who we are for the joy of these moments when we remember this is possible because we're all souls. And all of us at the soul level are connected. And that is the title of my new book, Always Connected. And that's why, because it's all spirit, it's all consciousness, it's all soul energy. Don't get hung up on the words. There's a part of you that already knows you're totally connected to your child who passed because of that energy, that love.
Oh, that's so beautiful, Suzanne. And I think that you've kind of answered the question that I was going to ask in terms of the first question about this wonderful book, which is what inspired you to write this book, and also the message that you most want readers to take away from this book. Maybe you could just tell a little bit about this, which obviously this reading that you were telling us about um, just is such a great indicator of what's possible when you understand that we are always connected to the loved ones that we have in spirit.
Well, what inspired me to write it was spirit, a moment that I had. And I tell this story in the introduction to the book. So if any of you have read it or listened to the audiobook already, you'll recognize this story. But it's so cool. And I just realized that I need to turn the volume down on my phone, because every time I tell this story, my phone talks to me, and you'll understand why in a minute. So I'm lying in bed, just waking up in the morning, or maybe I was awakened by my guides. At this point, I can't remember, but I just know that my guides said to me, write this down. And so I always have the pen and paper beside me. So I leaned over, Ty's over there on the other side of the bed. I lean over and they had me write, "Hey Siri," on my notepad. And then they said, now add the letters P and T right here. And before my eyes, "Hey Siri" turned into, she goes, turned into, "Hey Spirit." And then this whole lesson flowed saying, this is the problem everybody has. We don't realize we're souls. We feel very disconnected from our loved ones who have passed and from each other here. And so what are we stuck doing? We turn to our phones. Everybody always has their phone in their hand like this. And they when they have a question or a challenge, they go, "Hey Siri." Instead of yeah, I know, Siri. Instead of making your first go-to, I know I'm connected to so much more. I know I'm a soul. I know Siri and AI now will give me great answers, but I want to know what spirit has to say. And you stop and you pause and you say, "Hey, Spirit, why am I suffering so much? What's the next best step? What is a better step for me right now?" And nobody knows better than your own soul and your own guides and spirit itself. And so this book came about not from me thinking I'm going to put that in a book, but I just, like, the next week had the honor of having lunch with the vice president of Hay House, the publisher of my last two books, and one many, many years ago. I was in New York City, and she said, "Yeah, let's meet for brunch." So I'm sitting down with her, and we got to know each other, and we were just having this little chat. We weren't talking business at all, but we were talking about the content of my other two books. And I said, "Oh, Patty," her name is Patty Gift. She was a gift to me in that day. I said, "I got to tell you the coolest thing that happened to me the other morning, in just waking up in the morning." And I repeated the whole story that I just shared with you now. And she looked at me like this when I described the whole meaning behind it of what's the challenge with all of us not turning within. And she said, "Put that in 4 sentences and I'll draft up a contract right away." And I looked at her and I said, "Oh my God, it is a book." because it had never occurred to me. And I knew that's what she meant, draft up a contract for a new book. And she said, yeah, it's a good idea. It's a good one. And the next words out of my mouth were, oh, my poor husband. Because Elizabeth, you got it wrong. I don't have 18 books. It's the 17th book. So please correct that for Helping Parents Heal for the conference. But every time I write a book, it takes me 6 months of my life. And every free second I have, I'm at the computer because it just flows and I got to get it out. And anybody who's written a book for a professional publisher knows that you need to put together a proposal that's at least 50 pages. It has, a summary, chapter by chapter summary, an outline, a marketing analysis, comparing it to other books of similar type, and sample chapters, the whole deal. It takes so long to put together. Then you submit it and it goes through committees till it finally gets to the vice president. We just bypassed all that pain. I got to the airport to fly home just a few hours later. I sat there and it took me 4 paragraphs, not 4 lines. I sent it immediately and I had a contract the next week. And like I said in the book, well, I didn't mention that I wrote down, hey, Siri. I grabbed a napkin and I wrote, hey, Siri. I didn't just tell her, I wrote it. I said, watch this. And I put the P and the T in and it turned to hey, Spirit, and her eyes got big. And then I scribbled on the napkin. That napkin is now framed in my living room because that was a whole gift from Spirit. That's how the book came about. And then it basically wrote itself. That's another story I could tell too.
Well, I definitely want to hear about how it wrote itself. But before that, I'd love for you to explain why you think some people have a very hard time and struggle with their own connection to spirit. Um, I know that it could be a very long answer, but could you give us some tips on how all of these beautiful parents who are on here this evening might be able to get over that hurdle
Yeah,
of connecting with spirit?
it comes right back to what I said earlier, and I don't know in what context I said it, but I did say we'll get to that later, and you've just opened the doorway to that, Elizabeth. The reason we don't connect is static. Static. These vessels, these bodies are antenna, and and it's also blocking us from feeling the energy fields of our loved ones that are always in communication with us. And so just like Elizabeth's connection earlier tonight kept dropping, kept, that little electronic sound it gets when it goes in and out and you get bits and pieces of it. And we couldn't explain what that was about, but now she's nice and clear. Our fields go in and out of what's called coherence. This is a word that really behooves you to learn and understand, because grief is very capable of taking you out of a state of coherence. Anybody, all of us have felt that grief, and it takes the legs out from under you. So when you're in the deep state of grief, it's a challenge to connect, but we don't want to bypass our grief. This is part of the journey, and your kids know it, and they're very patient, and they're going to still try to get through to you anyway. So what can they do in the beginning? Send you signs and help you by snagging you with synchronicities. And what can you do to help? Not immediately say, oh, I'm imagining that, but start connecting the dots, start taking notes of these signs, because you know in your heart, that's your loved one. It's your human fear that says, but I don't want to look foolish. What if I'm silly? Not everything's a sign, but you know the signs when you get them. So your children are communicating with you. And as you clear the static and learn methods to connect with them, you become a clear instrument, so that resonance, that's the other word, coherence and resonance, that you already share by virtue of your love for your loved one, makes it possible for you to actually sense them.
Beautiful. Oh, goodness, that's such a beautiful answer. I also just want to say that this title, Always Connected, is so powerful. What does this mean, always connected? to you.
You can't not be connected because of this is a deep book. It really is. It has a different energy than my other books because it really gets into the deepest essence of who we are as consciousness itself, as awareness. And I don't want to get into that tonight. But it's the deepest learning that I've come to learn along this journey as I've consistently questioned, how is this connection through mediumship possible? What makes it possible? And when you understand that we are all awareness itself in expression as human beings, and awareness is just this pure being. Every one of us shares the awareness. I am aware of being right here, right now. And even when the body passes, I am aware of being right here, right now. Everything else that comes into awareness over that base state is what I call an overlay. So there's a base state that we all share, and everything else are overlays. How many of you remember transparency projectors in school? Do they even still use them? I don't know. But the base state would be just the pure light. And then everything else is a transparency put over it with an image to display. So we're always connected because every one of us shares the same indivisible base state. And where everything is connected, that's love. And that's why we know love intimately. And it's why we love our children, no matter what, beyond the story, beyond the overlays, because we're just all connected and we're given relationships to help us know that love and that connection. So that we are all indivisible at the base state, at our deepest state. And it's my greatest honor to help you find that state and rekindle that connection that hasn't gone anywhere. We just have to learn to remove some of those transparencies that are making your light opaque, right? Grief will do that to you. So you learn to say, that's a transparency that's not serving me right now. I'm going to set that aside. I've felt it. I've acknowledged it. But let's clear that out. And that can be as simple as a deep breath and remembering and reminding yourself, I am the light.
Oh my
And
gosh,
so
and
is my job.
that is such a beautiful segue to the term shining light parents. And I just want to remind everyone here that it's Suzanne who came up with that term,
No,
which is
it's my
what,
guide, Sanaya. Give full
okay,
credit to them.
Sanaya, exactly. And it was in meditation, and that's my next question as well. But I want to first just say that that light that shines from within us is the light that comes from the knowing that we are connected fully with our children. So I must say that the shining light parents who get it, you can see that light that shines through them. And just calling ourselves shining light parents obviously doesn't mean that that light is necessarily shining yet, because of the fact that there are other factors, all those transparencies that build up. But as we take them away and we're able to find that beautiful light from within us, I sometimes feel like these shining light parents that I meet on my journey are some of the most beautiful people inside and out that I've ever encountered in my life. And you're one of them, Suzanne, as well as Irene and everyone else in this group. But
And may I just say that I have 3 other shining light parents on my team. I mean, Patty and Dave have Lauren across the veil, and Patty schedules my readings for me. Then we have Christy, who's here tonight. I saw you, Christy. And Christy takes care of all of my YouTube, helping me with my YouTube video and my podcast and my reels and my shorts. She's so creative. And the story of how Christy came to work with me is in the book.
the book.
And then we have Stephanie Fennick, who shepherds all of us and keeps everything on track. And she has 2 children across the veil, and her stories in the book as well. So you can just see the whole web at work here.
Exactly. And yes, you're right. They're in the book, and that was going to be something we were going to say later. But I want to go back to meditation, and I want to just say that being with you in the catamaran during the beautiful book, Still Right Here, every morning you meditated. Every morning you were so careful about continuing to use that practice to be able to strengthen your connection to spirit. But I would like for everyone to maybe hear what you think meditation plays in strengthening our connection to spirit. Could you just tell
It
us
is
a little bit?
huge, everybody. And I don't spend 45 minutes a day meditating, or an hour, or even a half an hour. Sometimes 7 minutes, sometimes 12, sometimes 23, 30. That's the window right there. But it's the consistency, and it is hugely important. And if you're not, can I say this? Yeah. If you're not setting aside time now daily to sit in silence and remember you're a soul, then you are not optimizing your opportunities to clear the static. That's it right there. And some people would say, well, you have this military discipline. This is true, but it's more than that. It's commitment. And where does that come from? Your bond with your child. You know, it's that knowing within you that they're still here. And that's what got me into that lifelong habit. It was after Susan died, knowing she still existed. And it was a spirit thing that said, you need to sit quietly and ask for Susan to reveal herself. And I started the day after her funeral, and nothing was going to stop me from that. And I look back 20 years ago now, 20 years ago, to that became a sacred practice. Susan, reveal yourself to me. Susan, show yourself. Susan, let me hear you. And why that worked is that there are pauses in the monkey mind while you're looking and listening. Oh, that's not Susan. Let that go. Oh, that's my to-do list. Let that go. Susan, where are you? Okay, Susan. And I didn't see her for 3 years, but that's me. Stephanie Fenix connected with her child much faster. Once Patty and Dave and I had that reading, then the connection is right there. It's different for all of you. I will tell you, don't get discouraged. Susan told me she deliberately held back for 3 years for me because I needed to learn a lot about mediumship and spirituality in the meantime. And boy, did I. But your children and your guides know what you need to learn, what you need to do, how you need to fine-tune your antenna to make that connection. What is in your greatest and highest good will unfold as you set an intention that serves the greatest good. So may your intention be to connect at the heart with your child to increase the love in this world. And then buckle your seatbelt.
I love that. Buckle your seatbelt. And that's exactly what happens. And it's actually a very magical journey, even though it's a very difficult one, but we learn so much on this
But
journey.
yeah, it is difficult, but not the meditation part. Watch your expectations. Just be open and curious. When you have an assumption that you're going to have bells and whistles every time, and an expectation that suddenly it's going to just, things are going to change, that might leave you disappointed. So go into it with an attitude of, I can't wait to see what happens today. And you may or may not connect with your child, but other cool things might happen, or nothing might happen, but you will at least have had a few moments of peace.
Exactly. The meditation part is not the difficult part. I think that the difficult part is starting out this journey not being 100% sure of where our children are in spirit, but being able to find them makes it very magical. But I also want to leave time for questions. I know that parents have questions, that Irene is going to also maybe be asking some questions on her own. I wanted to ask you, though, how your understanding of consciousness has evolved since you began communicating with Sanaya. Could you
Oh,
maybe give a brief explanation of who Sanaya is, and then tell a little bit about how your understanding has changed?
yes. Every one of us is that base state of pure being, the light. And that light expresses itself through various lenses. And so using the analogy I gave before, there are various layers of transparencies, various layers of opacity, how easily, how transparent is the light that gets through. So in our human bodies, this body itself is the densest layer there is, and it's what blocks the light. But you can learn to bypass that in meditation and other practices. So I call human mode the most restricted. But then you have guides, and they're much more transparent to the light. And they all know we are the light. And they know that we share the same base state. And so they have a lot more wisdom than we do. They have bigger picture. They have a wider lens. And so that's the difference. And when you can learn to tap into your guides, then you're tapping into wisdom beyond what we can normally access. And that's who Sanaya is.
Beautiful. Yes. And just to kind of conclude a little bit about Always Connected without giving away everything that is in the book, maybe you could just tell a little bit about these incredible stories, the people that are in it, obviously Christy and Patty and other people that everyone knows, so that people can look forward to reading about them in this beautiful work.
Well, the book is very different in two different parts, different feel. The first part tells some stories that show evidence of the greater reality. But when I said the book wrote itself, every other of the 16 books, I would put every idea I had, I keep them always handy, on an index card. Oh, that needs to go in the book. That needs to go in the book. Then I'd have a stack this big of ideas that I knew we'd be writing about. And I spread them out on the bed and I look at them. And then it's like the mind becomes a computer, but it's all guided by spirit. Everything just reorganizes itself into little piles, and there's the outline. It's always been like that, and it's so cool because then I just gather them up and just write the book in that order. So I got all these ideas were right here in the awareness for Always Connected, spread the cards out on the bed, and I waited for that shuffling moment that's always guided by spirit, and nothing happened. And I said, aren't you going to help me organize this? And they said, not this time. Gather up the cards. But I've learned to trust. So I gathered up all the cards and they said, you'll cover all of that, but in our way this time. And so I couldn't sit to write until I got this nudge. I'd sit down, and as you'll see in every chapter, it unfolded in the moment, and it unfolded based on that morning's meditation. There are conversations with the base state joy that I had laced throughout the book. So the first half takes you on a journey to show you how that connection can happen, but lots of examples of the greater reality to open you up to the wondrous world that's right there for all of us. And then the second half of the book is 25 essays, I'd call them, on 25 common shared human challenges like forgiveness and despair and grief. And it in itself, that could be a standalone volume that you could keep by your bed and just pick up and read when you want to feel that energy and ingest spirit's wisdom. But it's included here because the intention is that from reading those, you'll get in the habit of saying, wait, I have a challenge. I'm going to turn to spirit and ask for guidance on this topic. And I encourage you to read the topic, get your own answer, then see what answer I got and see how it differs. So you keep training yourself in connecting to that source that's here for all of us.
That's beautiful. And I am so excited that this book is available to everyone now so that they'll be able to better connect with their children in spirit. And we have several other questions about the book, but I know that Irene would like to shift gears and maybe just ask your opinion and a little bit of information about something very near and dear to our hearts. So, Irene, go ahead and take over.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Thank you, Elizabeth. No, no, no. I just want everyone to know that Suzanne has been with us from our first conference, and she's been the opening keynote speaker in all three of our conferences, and will do so again in August. And we're so looking forward to it. And we were talking today, in fact, I see Amber's on the call, about the magic that happens at the conference and how so many people take that magic home with them. I was just wondering if you could share if you gain anything being at the conference and speaking and connecting with others there.
Yes, it's just so affirming to me to see the transformation that happens to those who attend, and even those who do the live stream. You don't have to be in person. To see people who come in feeling like alone, even though they're members of Helping Parents Heal, they know they're not, but you can tell they're a little nervous and they're not sure they'll fit in. And you just see them swept up in the love from everyone. And what I also gain is a reunion with my closest friends in the world. And it's fellow Shining Light parents. These are deeper bonds, and we all know who we are. Nobody else understands the depths of grief and the heights of love that we get to experience, and to be there and share that with each other, and just look in each other's eyes and say, I know. So it's a sacred time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. So go ahead into the chat and just read a few questions.
I do just want to acknowledge today, if we didn't talk much about Wolf's message.
Oh, yes.
But
yes.
I want to make sure you all know that documentary, they're going to show it at the conference, but it's also free on Tubi these days, Tubi. It's a free streaming platform that anybody can put on their smart TV and on your phone and on your internet. But today is Wolf's birthday. So I just wanted to honor Wolf, because he's the one that gave me the whole Awakened Way teaching that I share these days.
Yes. Happy birthday to Wolf.
Happy birthday to Wolf. And you're right, it's going to be on Friday night. We're going to be showing Wolf's message in the ballroom, and we're very excited about that. So, and Holly's saying 111 people are on this call, which is beautiful.
And okay, you just can't believe the God wink that is right there, because I just crossed off. I didn't think we were going to get time to talk about it. I have 111 written on my paper right here. I told you I went to Japan and that a cool thing happened there. I got to have dinner with somebody I gave a reading to a month ago. She was Japanese. And I said, oh, I'm coming to Japan, and your friend in spirit says we're going to meet. Well, it's a big country. I said, where do you live? She says, Sapporo. That was one of only 4 places we were going, the city of Sapporo in northern Japan. Not too many tourists go there, really. So we went and we met her at a little yakitori restaurant, Ty and I. We had dinner with her, and she reminded me of something I'd forgotten about. In her reading, her friend across the veil said, I said to her, your friend is saying you're reading a book now about a Western man, and she wants you to look at page 111. Because there's an important message there that relates to both of you and everything that you know. I love when that happens in mediumship, that kind of specificity. Well, she never got back to me about it. I forgot about it. We're sitting there in the restaurant in Japan, face to face. And she says, do you remember now? My friend said, page 111, a book I was reading about a Western man. And I said, oh, yeah. And I got really excited because I knew she was going to show me what it was. She pulls up her Kindle app on her phone. The page is highlighted, page 111, 111. She says, read it. And I started reading it. And it's like, this is familiar. What is this? I know this. I said, this is Wolf's message, which we were just talking about right here. And there's the goosebumps. And she said, yeah. I said, that's what you were reading at the time? She said, yes. And I said, it's a book about a Western man, Wolf. And she said, yes. And I said, what's page 111? And it was all about the biology of belief and little grandmother and everybody saying we create our own reality with our thoughts. I mean, how much more meaningful can you get than that from those in spirit that want us to know? everybody here is in this meeting tonight because you manifested you being here and hearing exactly what you needed to hear this evening with your thoughts. But your thoughts are not always your own. They're often put there by your loved one who wants you to know, I'm still right here.
Beautiful.
Isn't that
So
cool?
beautiful. Yes. Laurie is asking if you could answer, are our guides people who were in our life who have passed? If not, what is the connection to our guides?
Okay. And this is where my beautiful friend and original mentor, Mavis Patilla, splits the difference, differentiates between guides and loved ones who have passed who are guiding you. In the true sense of the word, a spirit guide is somebody who you know at a soul level who is not going to come back around and live in human form again. They've graduated to the next level. They have that wider perspective. They're helping you every minute of the day. That's their job. You're their job. That's a spirit guide. And then your loved ones who have passed, who are guiding you now in various capacities, Mavis would call them inspirers. I still call them guides, but they're not a true spirit guide in the sense that I described earlier. And these inspirers may come back and have another round or two as a human, but you'll always be able to connect with them, even if they reincarnate, because of that soul connection. We are eternally souls, and the stories and the roles we're playing are separate from that, but connected.
It's so interesting that you just mentioned Mavis, because Sherry had asked earlier that she's wondering if Suzanne has been in touch with the lovely Mavis Patilla. I can just picture our kiddos meeting her and surrounding her with love.
Just the other day, I do come in once a month and teach a master class for the year-long mediumship certification course that the Shift Network's doing every year now with Mavis's partner, Jean, and some wonderful tutors. And just as I got ready to teach my master class, here's Mavis. And she had a message for me. It was just so cool. She shows up almost every month when I teach those classes.
Wow, that is cool. Nanny is asking, is it generally better to meditate in silence or with music? I've recently started meditating with hemisync music and found that I enjoy it. I'm curious whether one approach is considered more beneficial than the other.
Try everything and see what works best for you. But now when I teach my classes, I actually ask my students to use the hemisync recordings because I forgot in the interim that I listened to hemisync every day in my meditation once I learned about it probably 18 years ago. And that's why I recorded 6. I have 6 of my own and a 7th one coming out in October. Why is it important? They put into the music binaural beats, which has a different frequency in each ear, which causes the 2 hemispheres of the brain to create what's called a beat frequency, a different frequency, bringing your hemispheres into a state of wholeness. That's a lot of scientific talk there. The result is tangible, noticeable. It helps you hold the expanded state more easily. It's like training wheels for meditation, but to this day, every day I have binaural beats when I meditate. Can I meditate without it? Absolutely. But it's just, to me, more helpful. So I have a whole mediumship series on hemisync, and I have Getting to Know Your True Nature series as well. They have hundreds of
Jennifer is talking about her only child went to spirit 4 years ago. She's very stuck in sadness and she hasn't moved on to a new career. Any advice how to move forward? She feels that she also gets stuck in her husband's grief.
I'm tuning in. That's why I'm not answering right away. That yes, we're given the beautiful gift of choice to choose what we focus on and choose where we put our attention. Same thing. I noticed that my husband's gone for a few days and I was all excited. Oh, I get some alone time. And then I found myself really down yesterday. And my guide said, what are you focusing on? And I was focusing on how quiet is around here and that sort of thing. So we make a choice all of a sudden. So I shifted my focus and I reminded myself, hey, This is good alone time. You wanted this. And it just, that shifted right away. So anytime you're stuck in that sadness, we're not bypassing it, we're noticing it. And we're saying, do I choose to remain feeling this way? I honor my child. And now I'm going to ask them, what can we focus on now to be uplifted? Choose a playlist that uplifts you. Music is amazingly uplifting. And so moment by moment, notice where your thoughts are, what you're focusing on, and deliberately shift it once you've processed that feeling.
Thank you. And we have one more question, and then we'll just turn it back over. Wendy is asking, when you feel the presence of spirit, how do you begin to discern who it is that is coming through?
Well, if it's your own loved one, you'll feel that presence and you'll know it's them. And then there are times when I don't have a clue who it is, but I know it's higher consciousness. And I've learned to live with the mystery. And that's so helpful, because sometimes Sanaya is a group consciousness. And sometimes it's very clear. It's one or two or three beings who I recognize clearly, but many times I don't know who it is. Yesterday, that was Mavis, or was it Tuesday? That was Mavis. Oh, it was so clear. Just like anybody that you'd recognize their energy if you don't see them. But if you don't know who it is, by all means, engage them and ask, who are you? But then be still and listen, look, feel, sense. And if you don't sense anything, then just say, why are you here? And what do you have to share? We don't have to know. It's a higher being who is another expression of the same source that we share. So if you sense someone, there's a reason. Really focus on discerning what the reason is. Why are you here? How can you help me?
Thank you. Thank you. And I just wanted to tell you that when you spoke to Siri earlier, my phone answered as well, heard you through the computer. Okay, I'll turn it back over to you and Elizabeth. And thank you again, Suzanne, for being here.
There are a lot of wonderful things that happen with Siri, and at the same time, it's a little bit confusing sometimes with my dad in his home. He's always getting Siri interrupting him, or she'll start playing music when he's not really wanting her to, just because he said something that his television turns on as well frequently, without him wanting it to do so. It's kind of a funny thing, but anyway, I wanted to just ask you something that I think all of us wonder here on the meeting, since your background is so fascinating and so different from many other mediums that we share our lives with right now. What what do you think you've learned from spirit that has surprised or challenged you in terms of your previous belief system, or an existent belief system, the most from this spiritual journey?
I'm long past it, but the hardest part for me was not immediately trying to figure out my pecking order in the rank with anybody I met. You're just trained from day one. Ooh, if that person's senior to you, you better salute or you're going to get in trouble. You better approach them with the right sir or ma'am or not. And then, or if somebody is not your rank, are they going to salute you or not? You're just this constant judging and separating people. And then, after you retire, you meet somebody, and we have a friend who's a 3-star admiral, and to call him Bill at first was just unheard of, but now I see that there's a need for a hierarchy in a system like that, but I see how it holds us separate. And I just love loving everybody. And I love being able to see the soul in everybody and not feeling higher or lower or succumbing to those very human fears of what if somebody's judging me? What if somebody doesn't like me? All of those things. But that was the biggest part of the military for me. But I'm very grateful for the service that it offered. I'm very grateful for the discipline that it gave me. And so it was a good career for me.
Well, and obviously, it certainly allowed all of us to completely identify with you and understand that you are an authority on everything that you talk about in the afterlife, because of the fact that you come from a background that's so different from all of ours, and being able to have that history of a hierarchy that you were
Yeah.
dealing with at the time
Yeah. If I could
allows.
say, Elizabeth, people, I don't know what it's like in corporations and other places, but when you have somebody at the level of like a captain or a colonel, that is a big deal. But then generals and admirals is really huge. And when you're in the presence of a general and admiral, people are nervous for some reason. And my boss was as high as they come, the 4-star head of the whole military. Other generals would be nervous around him. And so when I got into this field and ultimately shared with the general that I worked for what I was doing now, ooh, he didn't believe in it. He thought mediums are fakes. He didn't want to have anything, didn't want me to mention him. So to this day, I don't mention his name unless people specifically ask. But for me to then stand up to him, because I had such certainty that the greater reality is real, but more than that, the healing that comes from this work. That's what it was all about. And for people to just outright dismiss mediumship because of their belief system and not understanding it, I had to talk with him from the heart and said, this is what this is about, and I will continue to do it, and I respect where you are. For me, that was like David and Goliath. So nobody can intimidate me anymore.
Oh, what a beautiful thing
Yeah. It's
to
all about the love. It's all about the healing and the comfort. And I hope that people come to know that, but some people won't. And that is okay too. So by the way, this Sunday, my live podcast, that's the topic. What happens when you get it and those around you don't or don't want to? So you can join me live on Sunday at noon Eastern for that talk, because it comes up a lot, right? Y'all are changing. Your belief systems may be different from your families or even your partners. How do we deal with that? Yeah.
That's a very important question. And I think that the last question that we'd like to ask you this evening is how parents and helping parents heal can maintain a strong connection with their children in spirit, but also continue to live fully in this world. Is that something that's difficult to do?
That's the task. That's what we do. And then so you realize that, oh, thank you. The guys said, what did Wolf tell you? We talk about it being two worlds, but it's one world. This is the paradox. There's only one. What just happened there? There we go. There's only one world at the deepest level. But because we're in these human bodies, just like when I went to Japan, you're still in a body because you have more experiences here. Your child across the veil is having other experiences, but because the two worlds are united, you are moving forward together. Their channel is always playing, just like your channel here is playing. You just learn to tune those dials and talk to them throughout the day. And when you're meant to connect, you'll sense them. When they want to reach out to you, they'll get your attention through signs and synchronicities. Just know that the two worlds operate in tandem because it's one world ultimately.
That's beautiful. And I am just so thrilled that we were able to get you here this evening, because I know that you're so busy. So maybe you want to tell just a little bit about what's coming up, but also just I want to remind people about this incredible book, Always Connected. But tell us about what's
Oh my gosh. You're right. I am busy because I'm spending every free minute creating slides and exercises and meditations for two big events coming up in person at the Omega Institute in July, 3 days of making the connection. And they're going to live stream that as well. And then my big yearly now cruise in September to the Mediterranean. I think the group rates run out July 2nd. So we usually do a Helping Parents Heal group picture because there's usually enough of a big group on the cruise that we get all the parents together. So I'm making sure that there's always new material for these things. And that's challenging. 14 hours of time gathered together on that cruise. And then the Helping Parents Heal keynote. I have all my ideas and I have slides of evidence from some of our kids. I know what we're going to share, but I have to do the part.
None of us on here understands how you're able to do everything that you do, Suzanne. It's just amazing. And especially after coming back from Japan just a few days ago as well. But we're so, so grateful that you do so much for all of us. And we're also grateful that Christy was on here this evening as well, who works with you, as well as Patty. And I just have to say very quickly, Christy just created 10 angels that are absolutely beautiful. As beautiful one is, each one is as beautiful as the other. I chose one with Irene that is going to be on the back cover of our program for the conference. And we're going to be auctioning off by silent auction that beautiful work, creating lithographs from that work. And we're very excited about that as well. We'll be giving you more information as we move forward. She's such a talented artist, but also I am thrilled about seeing you in August in person and hugging you. And I know that Irene is as well. Irene, did you have anything that you wanted to say?
No, just thank you. So great to see you. And thank you everyone for being here this evening.
Yes, thank you all for being here. Suzanne,
Love to all of you.
any other things that you need to tell us? Remember, it's SuzanneGiesemann.com if you want to go and see the different offerings that she has coming up. But otherwise,
Go ahead and unmute and say goodnight and thank you.
yes, please do.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
So appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you.
To everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Thank you, everybody.
Amazing.
Suzanne.
Yeah, great to see you all.
And happy
Thank
birthday,
you.
Paul.
Yeah, love to all of you.
You,
Bye,
Suzanne.
Feel your
everybody.
energy.